0-0, so they didn't go down 3-0 in the first minute.
I know. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Capera with PodcastCondition.com bringing you the 98th episode? 98th. We're getting close to 100, guys. We got to talk about what we want to do for the big 100, the triple digit show.
Yeah, no doubt.
But this is the 98th episode of What You Drinking. We do this every Wednesday, and last week we spun the wheel, and what was it? We landed on Belgian Tripels. So I'm a little off style. I'm definitely drinking way off style right now. I'm finishing up a home brew that a friend of mine gave me, which is outstanding. So if he's ever going to see this, Bart, this is, again, one of the best home brews I've had. It's really fantastic. I was telling Mike before the show started that this is the base version of the two that he gave me. He made the other one with like cocoa nibs, vanilla, cinnamon, and cold pressed coffee. Mm-hmm. And I had that one on Memorial Day, and it was amazing. So I had this one with dinner tonight because we had beef stew, and it was like the perfect pairing ever. So. Nice. I would buy this in a store, hands down. This is an amazing beer. So Bart, cheers to you for the free beers, and again, it's amazing. So, Belgian Tripels. Were you guys able to stick to the wheel a little bit better than I am?
I did. I ended up with the Allagash Triple. Oh, where's the camera?
Yeah. Uh-oh.
The Allagash Triple from local here in Maine, the Allagash Brewery, which it's one of those breweries that's they've got a lot around here, obviously, because it's local. But I never go for it. I don't pick their stuff up very often. So this was a good opportunity to drink one of their beers that I've never had before, and it's definitely a pretty good one. I think it's a good representation of the style. I get a lot of banana actually, and it's got that kind of like farmhouse saison funk to it as well. That maybe is a little bit unique for the style, but very good, and I'm glad this one came up on the wheel because I've been itching to try some Allagash beers for a while.
I haven't had an Allagash in a long time. I've got the last one I did on the show was one of their barrel aged ones, I want to say, and I have another one in the closet, but I can't remember which one that was. I could easily go around the corner and find it, but I haven't had an Allagash in a while, so that's awesome. It looks good, and I love those ones with the banana flavor, or this even at least the smell.
Yeah, and it's definitely got a little bit of the flavor to it. It reminds me of a saison, and it's close. I do love saison, so it's a good beer for me. Nice.
What do you got, Dan?
I went back to an old favorite because I think when the last time this came up on the wheel, I got the same thing, and that is the Triple Carmelite. So clocking in from Belgium, and it's a really good one. I really enjoy this one. Not only is it triple a grain bill, but I think they actually use 3 different kinds of grains. Where usually I think you're using most barley and wheat. They also add oats to this, so it's a really tasty beer. This is it's got a little bit of pepperiness to it, some of the clove, a little bit of maybe a hint of the banana, but it's more clovey than banana, I want to say. And it
looks really clear actually from the camera.
Yeah, I know. It's probably it looks a little lighter on the camera than it does in person, but it is crystal clear. Lots of little champagne bubbles, and poured with a really big head that died down relatively quickly, and not a ton of lacing, but that little suds on the top is sticking around. So this is a good one. I recommend Triple Carmelite to anyone who has a hankering for a triple of any kind. It's a good beer.
I think it's really interesting the difference in the color, the head, the lacing. Like look at comparing what I have to what you have. Two very different representations of the style. That's for sure.
That is crazy.
Yeah, very much so.
That's funny. Yeah, but it actually looks darker, or I guess darker is the best way to put it, when you held it up to the camera, because when you hold it up against, like, closer to your chest, it looked like water or like a Miller Lite or something. But there you go. It's so much better there.
Oh yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, because the black behind it really does. Yeah, it's so crystal clear. You're not seeing a whole lot of color with the black as a background.
Yeah. So the one I brought is slightly off style, but it's still in the Belgian family. This is the Belgian quad that they made from Revolution last year, because they just hit their 5-year anniversary. So this is their 4th-year beer.
Okay.
And they did a Belgian quad with chamomile, chamomile flowers. Yeah. So this one, what's the ABV on your guys? Because mine is quite high.
Well, quads usually are. Mine's clocking in at 8.4%.
Yeah.
So it's up there, but it's not blowing the peg in the meter.
That's the whole point of
9 even.
So I'm going to be the drunkest one here at 11.5. And I got this at a store that was a little questionable, so I wasn't sure if this was going to last, but I had it on the shelf for a while, and I figured this is a good one to. And I actually had this at the brewery when they first brewed it. But this is one that I bought at a store that's not one that I frequent at. But they have a decent selection, but I don't believe that they treat their beers well, as they should. But I mean, as this pours, there's like no head. There's very, very little carbonation on here. It smells very caramely. But man, this is like, it smells almost like you just dumped all the barley or all of the. It's so bready. It's crazy. Man. Wow, this is nothing like I remember tasting it when it was fresh at the brewery. It's changed so much. It's very that's all I can think is really dark, almost like toasted caramel. Like if you took, I don't know, like sugar and just like heated it up on the stove and then mixed it in with something. It's very sweet and very caramely. I like it. It's good.
Does it have like a smokiness to it?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
It's very like barley. Like when you start to dump your grains into a home brew or something, it's that smell right there, which is so weird because that is not at all that I remember this. And I don't really remember beers that well when I have one and I have it like a year later. I can't really differentiate them very much. This is almost like no other beer I've ever smelled. It's crazy. This one, I don't know if it's because of not being properly stored before I bought it. I don't know. But I like it. It's good. I don't know. Either that or this is one to age for a year and it's interesting. I like it a lot.
The mistreatment by the store has done it well.
Well, the thing is, it's the store that I bought it at has a great beer selection, but it's not one I go to a lot because they have sun coming straight in through the windows. The beers are mostly in the back, but I've seen them like stack their shitty beer, and they treat it like shit. Like they just throw it around, and I don't want to put anyone on blast. So I'm not going to name the place or anything, but it's not a place that I go to a lot. But occasionally I'll go in there, and I'm like, holy shit, they have a blah blah blah, and it's something that nobody has anymore. So it's not a place that everyone goes to, I don't think, a lot. And then when you go there on occasion, they'll have a nice little surprise on occasion. But I just didn't this was like one of two left on the shelf. I didn't know, how long they'd been there, what, if it had been out in the sun at all. Well, before they put it in the spot that I grabbed it from. So I don't know. I'm happy with this though. I'm pleasantly surprised. So I don't know. What's new with you guys? Beer wise, Dan, I know you've got some homebrew club stuff going on.
Yeah,
You're going to a fest this weekend, right?
Yeah, there's a lot going on actually. I just got the T-shirts for the club came in. And I've been doing the graphic design for a lot of that stuff. I'm working on the marketing for the brew off now, getting some graphics together for that. But as part of that, we're going up to the Alpine Beer Fest in Milwaukee this weekend, and they have a lot of the Wisconsin festivals in particular seem to have a more emphasis on homebrewers than they do in Illinois, which I think is nice. It's good to kind of pull in that community rather than kind of differentiate between the pro community and the homebrewers, especially since there's that's kind of the farm league traditionally of craft beer. So we're gonna have
You do like the differentiation, or you don't?
Oh no, I don't. No, I think I don't think it's an in-your-face differentiation in Illinois. It's just one of those things where, for whatever reason, if it's cultural or don't because most homebrew clubs don't have licenses to pour product, that they don't end up at the competitions, or I'm sorry, at the beer festivals, with much of a presence. So, but yeah, so this is Alpine Beer Fest in Milwaukee. It's Saturday. I think it starts at noon. And so, yeah, a lot of these places will actually send out blasts to the homebrew clubs and say, we've got this opportunity. Do you want to come up and volunteer or, have a booth here? So it's very generous. And so we decided, let's go up there and we'll start marketing the brew off up in the Milwaukee area. So
nice.
Mm-hmm.
There's this really good story about home brewing kind of that I wanted to get into, but Mike, anything going on your end of things that you're going to, or any beer fests that are going on at least that you know?
No, well, I know there's a craft beer festival here in Boston this weekend. Actually, I think it's this weekend. It's happening here, and I'm not going, but I've gone in the past, and I know it's a great time. I know that this year the folks at Trillium are going to be there. They were talking about it last time I was there last week, and some of the Vermont, the big names in Vermont are going to be there as well. The Alchemist, maker of Heady Topper, is going to be there. Lawson's, I think, is supposed to be there as well. So I think it's going to be a good one. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be going, but it's been a good one in the past, and this year it sounds like it's going to continue. I'm actually looking forward to doing some of the traveling I'm doing this summer. It's good. These vacations and weekends away offer good opportunities to visit some of the breweries that I haven't been to in a while, and I know I'm going to a bachelor party the second weekend in June, up in Maine, and so I'll most likely be seeing what I can hit either on the way there or on the way back. I'll keep you posted.
Nice. What breweries are you planning on going to?
Yeah, not sure yet. I need to do a little research and do some homework as far as where what's nearby and what's worth maybe driving a little bit out of the way to get to. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Where is it at? Is that in California? Aren't you going to California at some point this year?
Yeah, California. That's actually another trip. But that's going to be in October. And it's just outside of San Francisco, and so I think my wife and I are going to spend an extra couple of days there, and in addition to visiting a winery or two, visiting a brewery or two, we'll go to Lagunitas, Russian River, and again, we'll do a little more research, but I know that those two are definitely ones that I want to do.
Sorry, I wasn't more of help with that recommendation email that I sent. I was like, Well, that's pretty much what we did. I don't know how far you were going up or down in the state, but
Yeah, actually, I was gonna ask, did you send that email? I don't think I ever got it.
really, yeah, I did
Yeah.
send that. I
Oh.
yeah, I was basically saying that I didn't know how far north or south you were willing to go, but
Yep.
we because we hit a whole bunch of breweries. We hit a couple in like Santa Barbara.
Okay, so on the way up from
Yeah,
like
so we went from San Diego all the way up to San Francisco, and we hit a bunch of them. Russian River was definitely one of the best. Their sours are just amazing. You're gonna love that. Um, the Lagunitas is great. I've been there twice. That place is great. But the other one, Firestone Walker, was gorgeous. I don't know if you were going to
okay.
be into that area, but
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'll have to check my email because I know I definitely got you back.
I'll check. I'll check, but I didn't see it, so maybe it got I don't know, maybe it got filtered out somehow, but I'll double check. But yeah, if you want to resend, maybe
Yeah, because
I'll
oh,
keep
you know
up
what I
for it.
did? I suggested while you're in San Francisco, because I'm a little upset that we're not going to that same wedding because we would
Yeah.
be doing that if we didn't have a little one on the way. But there's a beer bar in San Francisco called Toronado. You need to go there.
Oh,
It's
okay, good.
awesome. It looks like a dive bar on the inside, but I mean they had Pliny on tap. Uh, and we went there before dinner. We went out there with a couple mutual friends that we have, and yeah, we got pretty lit up before
Nice.
we even went to dinner because Pliny's like 9%, and
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
realize that, and we were doing pretty good on the Pliny, and one of our good friends, the groom, I won't say anyone's names, but the groom of the wedding you're going to was having a good
Oh,
time. He had quite a bit of Pliny.
good, good,
It
good for
was
him.
fun. I'm sad that I'm missing that wedding because I love those guys and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, well, I felt the same way about your wedding too, so
I forgot.
we were in the same
So,
boat.
so wait a minute. Where in California going to be? Are you going to be in San Francisco, or are you going to be like,
The
you know
wedding,
yet?
yeah, so we'll be in San Francisco. The wedding is actually just south of San Francisco. It's
Okay.
I forget the name of the town, but it's maybe like 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour outside of San Francisco, south on the coast.
Oh, is it on Carmel, maybe?
It's like right next to Carmel, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I know the
I'm
area.
blanking on the name of the town, but
Yeah,
then
I am too. I know I saw them posted. I can't remember the name.
and
Okay.
then so the wedding is over the weekend, and then we were gonna spend at least an extra 2 days there, and go back north of San Francisco and hit up a couple wineries, and then go to Russian River and go to Lagunitas, and then yeah, I was quizzing Mike on I know he had done that trip before, so I was quizzing him on other places to go, places to see,
Right.
breweries in the area. So yeah, so I'll do a little bit more research, but I know that at least those two are ones that I wanna get to while I'm there.
Well,
Well,
one
what we
name
should
I'd
do is
add to the
throw it
hat
out.
is.
We should throw it out to anyone who is watching this
There you
show.
go. Oh, I like this.
We do
Good.
get 5 to 9 views an episode. So maybe if we get the audience a little bit more involved. So anyone who's watching should make some suggestions if you've been in the California area and know any breweries that Mike in the area that Mike's talking about. Definitely throw some out there. We'd love to get some little interaction going. So I'm sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off there,
No,
but
that's
I wanted to
okay.
throw that out.
No, I was just going to say that one that comes immediately to mind is 21st Amendment. That's an awesome place to hit right in the
Oh,
city.
yes.
Um,
That's
Right by the
great.
ballpark too. So if you're well, the game,
yeah, you see a game.
yeah.
Oh,
But
cool.
there's one in Berkeley too. I forget what the name of it is, but it's getting some good reviews. It just kind of popped up on the radar. I want to say that they do a lot of barrel aging or sours, and it's not Russian River. It's Berkeley, not Santa Rosa. But yeah, if you're heading out to Sacramento, there are a bunch that I can tell you about because that's where my sister-in-law lives. My dad lives in Davis, which is literally 20 minutes down the road. Actually, Davis is kind of cool because that's where a big viticulture and enology program is. They also have a beer brewing program for professional brewers. So there's a place out there called Studworks, which I guess that every year the class of current brewers has a competition, and they feature whoever was ace the course their beers at Studworks. So it's become this big thing out there every year where the end of the semester they feature them out there, and it's a lot of good beer in that area. I mean, it's hard to find bad beer in California, to be honest, but you will have your choices. Let's put it that way.
Here's another suggestion I'll make to you. In San Francisco, go to Fisherman's Wharf. There's a place called the Buena Vista Cafe.
Yes.
They have an amazing brunch, so you definitely go there maybe after the day after the wedding, if there's not like a breakfast or a brunch for the wedding party or anything like that. Go to the Fisherman's or the Buena Vista Cafe and order. Their brunches are supposed to be amazing, but order the Irish coffee.
Yeah, they invented it, I think.
It's amazing.
Okay.
So,
it is.
I sat there at the bar. I was there with a friend of mine who was like, "We need to go here. We need to have this." So I have video of it on one of my cameras somewhere. But they take like this line of glasses, probably like 10 to 15 to 20 different glasses, and they throw a couple sugar cubes into each one, and they throw hot. First, they heat up every glass by taking like a hot coffee pot full of hot water and just like heat up every glass, and then they dump all the water out, then put all the sugar cubes in there, and then fill it up with coffee, and then the guy mashes up all the sugar with a spoon, and then pours in like a special whiskey like made specifically for that bar, and they whip up the cream by hand, and they put it on there. They do like 10 to 15 at a time, and they serve them.
Jeez.
It's amazing to watch them do it. It's freaking delicious.
Oh,
And have you been there, Dan? Did you go?
Yeah, actually, as soon as you said Buena Vista, I was like, Irish coffee. Because the very first time that I went out to San Francisco, after my parents moved from Chicago out to Davis, when my dad got his teaching job out there, my dad took me into San Francisco, and I was like, all right, come on, we got to go to Buena Vista. I was like, well, what for? I was like, we got to have the Irish coffee. And I was like, and I guess that this has been a thing like going way back to like into the 60s when my dad was doing Army language training school in Carmel, and they probably hit San Francisco, on weekends for off-base stuff. Yeah, it's a thing, and it's a really good thing, and it is something you should seek out, absolutely.
So the Buena Vista Cafe, I remember after we left, I went to their website just to check it out, and they have all these black and white photos. This place has been around forever.
Yeah.
Black and white photos of the place and all the staff and everything. The dude that made the Irish coffees in front of us was totally in those pictures, black and white, super young, but you could tell it was the same dude. Wow. I mean, his hand was so calloused and burnt from like mashing all the hot water. I mean, his hand looked like he'd been. Oh, sweet! The Blackhawks are winning 1-0. He is. It was the same guy. It was amazing. It was a really cool place. Highly recommend it. Definitely check that. I meant to mention that in my email too, because I only mentioned the tornado in there, but I forgot.
I have to revise this email and resend it.
All right, yeah, I'll look for it because I know I sent it to you. Because it took me a while after you messaged me, because you messaged me through. It came in weird, as if it was sent through Google Plus.
I think that was what must have happened is I just typed in your name, and that's what Gmail populated the field with, was like Google Plus, and not your email or something. So I wonder if maybe if you replied to that, I wonder if it replied to like my Google Plus account.
Oh yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to check to make sure you're. Oh, Boyle said, still hoping to hop on at the end. Don't say anything about the hockey.
Don't.
Uh-oh.
That's funny. He just asked me not to say anything about the hockey game. I'll have to refrain when he gets on here because I just gave an update. But anyways, yeah, definitely check that place out. And
Nice.
and also, from what I understand is Pliny is pretty available in that area. You can go to Whole Foods and get it, from what I understand. So bring extra space in your bag to take home. And I have a friend that lives like near San Francisco, and he's not a beer guy, so it's hard for me to kind of like get him to go, oh, I think the Hawks just scored again. Hang on a second. I know this is really bad for the show, but I've got the Hawks. Yep, we're up 2-0.
Yes. I don't mind. I've been hoping for this.
Okay, for the dead air that I'm doing, I'm sorry. But what I was going to say is when you mentioned a little bit of homebrew stuff earlier, Dan, there was a great story, and anyone who you guys might actually be thinking it at the time at this point, but that one podcast I listened to, Good Beer Hunting, they have also a blog, a website and a blog, and they just did a great story about a new brewery that I've actually just started taking notice of. They're called Mars. Mars Brewing. They're based out of Chicago. Super new, as far as I know. But so I discovered them through going to Maria's Packaged Goods, which is a little bar that's been redone in the area near like U.S. Cellular Field where the Chicago White Sox play. So it's not the greatest of areas, but it's definitely up and coming now because this place has kind of revamped the area. It used to be like this shitty little dive bar that was just kind of lasting. It was just kind of staying alive in the area, and the two sons took over the beer program and turned it into probably one of the best beer bars in Chicago. It's not one that's the easiest to get to. It's not near any popular areas, so you have to be up on the south side to get to it. But I was just there like a week ago, maybe. It was just before our last episode because I remember mentioning Mars on the episode last week. So it was like last Monday or Tuesday, maybe. And they had two great IPAs that we were able to try, and it was really good. So I've been kind of looking into them, and I guess the son that is doing all the beer stuff at Maria's is starting this brewery based off of the Chaos Homebrew Club. And,
right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is Chaos based out of Chicago, or are they?
Yeah, they are Chicago Homebrew Club, and they're huge.
So
they actually have their own brewery.
Well, I guess that's what's going on with Mars. So everyone in the club, or at least a bunch of members from the club are contributing. They all get a chance to getting at bat to kind of throw in their ideas for what beers to make and stuff like that. So I just saw Maria's was on, the same channel that Brewdogs is on, Esquire. They have a show called The Best Bars in America, I think. And these two comedians kind of go from city to city, and they hit all these different bars, and a lot of them are spirit bars. So they hit a lot of, like, there was one in Chicago that they hit that was like a gin bar. So they do a lot of a lot of spirits and stuff like that. So, right. But they hit Maria's, and which was funny because it was literally like less than a week, or it was like aired 2 days after I was there, so I was very into the episode. And they had a beer made with pho, which is like a weird. I can't even pretend to know what it is. It was like an Asian soup style of on the Hawks just scored again. Yeah. So, Kevin better get here soon so I can stop like jumping into the game. 3-0, by the way. Second period, 7 minutes and 52 seconds left.
Oh man.
But it's very interesting. The beers are fantastic, first of all, but they're getting a lot of notice, and they're super small. They're not, anything like what's going on with like Revolution. I was just reading a story about a lot of the laws that they're getting changed in Illinois just based on their growth, which I can get into in a little bit. But this place is like super small, and Maria's is actually building like a little restaurant kick off of the side of their bar. So they're doing well, and it's, like I said, a neighborhood that's not frequented by most people in Chicago, unless you're going to a ball game. But there's tons of like places popping up now, and there's a lot of people. I mean, that place is packed when I went there. So it's good for the area, and it's good for beer. It's awesome. So I don't know. It was a cool. I don't know. Did you read that story at all, Dan, or have you heard?
I have heard of Mars. I've heard of Chaos, definitely. I actually did read like the first couple of paragraphs because I quick pulled up Good Beer Hunting and read that, and it sounds it's kind of interesting. There seems to be at least a segment of the craft beer brewing culture that is very activist-minded in the sense of trying to use beer as a way to reinvigorate areas. You see this at 18th Street in Gary. It sounds like Mars has got a similar mind, where it's sort of like, we're kind of focusing on our community, not just to brew beer or not just to sell beer, but also to be a part of the community and to bring some value to the area.
Oh, I mean, look at Revolution, where I had my wedding. Dude, that whole block was nothing. You would never go in that area, ever. Now it's like one of the most booming areas ever. Revolution opened that place up like crazy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that's kind of the irony of it, too, because a lot of what used to keep breweries and the beer business in general out of neighborhoods was the perception that it was going to ruin the neighborhood. You're going to bring in all the drunks. These people are going to be passed out all over the city streets. Throwing up in garbage cans, peeing in alleys, and it's just going to be horrible. And the exact opposite is happening. What's happening is actually much more akin to other sort of artisan enclaves that move into neighborhoods, and regentrification sort of follows within the next 5 or 10 years after that. Artist communities, brewing communities now seem to just attract people who are going to bring their coin and actually make a difference for the better, if anything. So I found that irony to be particularly interesting, especially given the country's history with beer and and the legal end of it. So who knows? Maybe times are changing finally.
Yeah, talk about a turnaround from Prohibition, and then, like you were saying, the aftermath of Prohibition, and people saying, well, we got to keep the breweries out, keep the bars out, got to limit the number of bars and restaurants that have licenses to serve and that sort of thing. And I mean, the same thing's happening here. Trillium is in an area that's up and coming, and there's cranes and construction and things going on all around it, and more and more people are moving into that neighborhood. And then just north of the city in Cambridge and Somerville, the same thing is happening with Pretty Things and Night Shift in Everett and other parts of Boston. Sort of the gentrification of those areas. They involve a brewery too. Bakery, the brewery, and a couple of restaurants, and all of a sudden people are pouring in. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean Somerville in particular. Yeah, Somerville is a perfect example of that because my cousin actually my wife's cousin has a bike shop there, and it's very much a sort of hipster infiltration, and the breweries are doing the same thing. But yeah, that's sort of the leading edge of what will eventually become the money, and they're actually very hyper aware of this because they got in when it was low, and then suddenly their business model changes significantly in a very brief period of time because rents are going up, the price of living is going up, and the people are the population is changing in terms of tastes and what they want and the services they're looking for. So what initially attracted them there doesn't necessarily dictate the money that follows, but it does foresee the money in the future. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's so it's exciting. I like seeing that happen, and I think beer is doing a lot of positive things, in a lot of areas. I was just listening to what have you guys had much experience with, or what do you guys know or think about the cider movement? Because I was actually going to suggest we throw that on the wheel, since this is a beer show.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called What You Drinking. So cider is becoming a huge, it's stepping up as far as popularity, and it's right now in its infant stages, like craft beer was maybe like 5-10 years ago. And every podcast I listen to when they talk about it, it sounds like such a good bridge between craft beer and what cider is. And when you think of cider in America, mostly you think of, Mike, what do you call it, that shitty, I was going to say Mike's Hard Lemonade, but what's the bastardized version of cider?
I mean, there are a bunch of them. Not Pete's.
I was going to say Pete's
Apple Ale. Is it something's Apple Ale?
Something like that.
Red's Apple Ale.
Red's, yeah. So there's so many like really sweet, super sugary ones, but from what I'm understanding, there's a lot of ciders that are similar to like a sour beer, or like a Belgian or like a saison, or there's a lot of yeast fermentation that's very similar to beer now that are, because there's a cider bar that's opening up in Chicago this year, I believe, and so like Shorts, the brewery that I love in Michigan, just kind of opened up their own side project called Star Shot or Starcut, and they're doing sours now, or ciders now.
Okay.
Greg Hall, that when Anheuser-Busch bought Goose Island out, he started his own cider company. What was it? What it's called? Virtue Cider.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
So yeah, it's getting huge now, and so I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Would you guys be opposed to adding something like that to the wheel, or have you guys had any ciders that you?
I haven't delved much into it, but it's a thing. I mean, there are actually two sort of brew items that cross over broadly with home brewing and with beer. Generally speaking, cider is one of them. Mead is the other one. Mead episode is tough because that's a lot of alcohol and it's a bigger bottle. And you're obviously not going to plow through a whole one. I don't know how well it holds up if it's like wine, where you probably should drink it within a few days of opening it up because it'll get cidery on you, or what. Yeah, I mean, what was it? Angry Orchard, I think, was the big one that hit. That's Boston Beer's contribution, because that is Sam Adams.
Is that Boston Beer? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's interesting. Look it up. But yeah, the cideries have been popping up frequently, and the meaderies are not far behind. So I think that mead is probably the next big trend that we'll see out of all this. But it's always going to be a little bit further behind because it's a little more rarefied. But yeah, I would definitely want a cider on there. That'd be awesome.
Cool. Yeah, because
I agree.
Because there's definitely some, like I said, I'd be interested. Like, there's a lot of dry ones that I guess kind of bridged with IPA fans, and there's a lot of other ones that, like I said, tie in with like saisons and things like that. So I'd be interested to check that out. So I say we throw that onto the wheel this evening. We can throw on other beer styles as well, but I thought about that because I've listened to maybe 2 or 3 podcasts now where a brewery has either started doing it or they kind of throw 1 or 2 on their taps, and like I said, when there's an entire bar that's like dedicating to ciders, it kind of perks your ears up a little bit to kind of check it out. Like I said, I've never been into them because I always consider ciders as like those horrible macro versions of those super sweet things that I have no interest in. But if you tell me it's something like a saison or an IPA, I'm in. You know, you've got my attention a little bit. So
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I agree that I think it's worth putting on the wheel, and yeah, there's a lot. There's more. It seems like there's more and more to choose from, and I like beer a lot. So when I'm drinking, I go to beer, but I've had a few ciders and I like them, and I always see them there, and I think, oh, maybe I'll get a cider. And I'm like, no, no, there's a lot of beer here that I haven't had or that I'm interested in trying, so I'll do that instead. Um, but yeah, I think it's good, and yeah, I think there's a lot of different varieties, like you guys were saying. So I think it's worth putting on the wheel and seeing what people can come up with.
well,
Yeah.
it's also just interesting with how many different varieties of apples there are that you can.
Mhm.
You have so many different options and different styles you can do, and you know, you have to ferment them with different yeasts as well. So it's like it's no different than beer, in my opinion, if not, you know, more options. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. So as I've listened more into it, I've definitely opened up to it. So I'm glad you guys are on board. I think Chris is watching too, so I don't know if he has anything to say about that. Feel free to send us a message while we're talking about this, because I think we've got about another 10 to 15 minutes left of the show to go. So, but anyways, anything else in the news that you guys have seen lately or anything like that? Because I was kind of scoping around for some news stories, and like I said, the only thing I saw going on lately was the one about how Revolution is kind of I lost my place here. Yeah, so Revolution was kind of skating on the laws here in Illinois as far as capacity and what they're able to do, because there's a law, I guess, if you own a distribution brewery and a brew pub, you're kind of cut off at, like, I think it was like the 30,000 barrel mark, and they were beyond that. So that, I guess, there's been some regulation or some legislation changes within the state to kind of allow them to, you know, to do that, to do what they, you know, plan on doing when, and it helps, you know, other breweries too that are expanding, like Half Acre and anyone else in Chicago that probably has plans on growing. It helps them as well. But
Right.
have you read anything about that, Dan, or do you know anything?
Well, I do actually. When I was talking to Bruce Durr over at Tighthead about they're going to do the grand prize for a brew off in the form of a Pro-Am brew for a GABF next year. He's been talking about getting the financing and the approvals together to expand Tighthead. So it sounds like they're making progress. I'm not exactly sure where they are on that, but they're talking about a canning line. They're talking about taking the existing bottling line, they're bottling bombers, and changing that to seasonal and special releases. And so yeah, that's moving forward. I think there's another brewery going in Lake County. Well, I know that, and I think I already mentioned this earlier, Only Child is moving from Northbrook up to Gurnee, where their new location is going to be sometime this summer. But that's about it locally. Beyond that, I haven't really been. I've been so buried in trying to do this marketing crap that it's like I haven't checked anything out. So.
Yeah, and it's actually been a pretty slow week in beer news. I haven't seen much that was worth mentioning. Even there haven't been any lawsuits or any you know, like disputes or anything like that lately. I've been on the Full Pint and on.
Are they still publishing, by the way? The Full Pint seems to have like died on the vine.
You mean Beer Pulse?
Oh, Beer Pulse. Yes, I'm sorry. The Full Pint is good. Yeah. What's
Because Beer
up
Pulse
with
has been.
that?
I don't know. Because didn't you message them at one point and said, "Hey, what's going on?"
I totally did. This was hilarious because basically what I did was I said, look, you know, and this was back when I was fooling myself into thinking I could write blog posts more regularly. But I messaged the guy and I said, hi, my name's Dan Berger. You know, you talk about a lot about you know, investigating the sort of beer community. Well, the fact that you guys haven't been posting lately seems like a story. So what's up with that? And he's like, oh no, 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 no. We're doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We'll work. I'm going to be coming right back with this stuff. And then it's like, I think he posted like 5 more stories and then dead again. So I do not know what's up with them. But all I know is that I think that a lot of these blogs do experience burnout. Having been a blogger, I can attest to that. And it might just be dead in the water.
There's that, and the fact that there's not a lot of money in it. So they have jobs, they have things to do, they have work, they have real lives, and it's hard to keep up as much as people might want them to. So I totally get that, and I think that was the one that I was actually looking at, and I was like, where'd they go? Because Beer Pulse, where'd it go? Because Beer Pulse is the one that kind of stopped maybe like mid this month. They were going for a while this month, but even the Full Pint, they don't have much stories going on. They post a lot of reviews now and a lot of events that are going on, but they don't really have much to say about the news at this point.
All right.
So I don't know. But while we're kind of chatting, we might as well get the wheel handled because we can always talk till the end about anything else that we want to cover. But so I'll throw on. We'll take off the Belgian Tripel.
Mm-hmm.
We'll throw on some cider. What do we want to throw on here?
What do we have on there currently?
Yeah, it's a lot.
All right, let me add cider so I can get to the top of the list. Yeah. All right, so we've got a brown ale. We've got cork. Yep. Oh, where'd it go? Just changed on me. Hang on a second. It's not allowing me. Okay, we got the wild card still. We got a collaboration, local beer you can't pronounce, strange ingredient, milk stout, brown ale, corked and caged, 13% or higher. Man, I'm feeling pretty good tonight.
I feel like last year we had a 12% or higher. We just keep up in the air.
You can't go down, man. You got to keep going up.
That's right. There's a ceiling when it's beer, man. We're all going to be like doing icebox and
I'm
God
drinking
knows what.
11.5, and I haven't poured anything more than what I've already had.
Now, pretty soon you'll have to have a brown ale with a pure ethanol added to it just to keep up on the ABV.
So yeah, we'll be doing shots of vodka soon. And we've got import. We've got nut beer. I assume that is a beer with any sort of nut. Let's hope that is what we meant when we added that. A Goza, an ESB, a style that Dan and I were texting about earlier today.
Yes.
A Saison, sours, a coffee beer, Hefeweizen, and now we have a cider.
That's a lot of beers. I think we're pretty good.
It's summertime. What do we want to add? We got to have something here. Do we even have an IPA? We have no IPAs.
I cut out for the last couple, I think you said. Do we have anything dry hopped on there?
No.
Or I'm sorry, double dry hop, something extra hoppiness.
We could do that. I'm always game for that. Either that, or since it is summer, we could go with the session beer. I was going to say session IPA, but why limit it to that? Just go ahead and open it up and call it like the lawnmower episode or whatever.
Oh yeah, a lawnmower beer, or we've got the 13% or higher, maybe like 5% or lower.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
I like that. I'll put lawnmower / 5% or lower. That's my question, though. We see all the session IPAs. Do they have any other style in a session style?
Well, yeah, there are session beers. There are like milds and small beers. And those are sessionable ales. Now, are they specifically called session ales? I don't think so. But they are called sessionable beers. And yeah, I mean, sessionable is typically something that is classified as being in the 5% or lower category. So, I mean, part of it too is that the IPAs, they really started cranking up the ABVs on those over the original English styles, sort of early on in the craft beer movement. So really, the session IPAs are sort of a return to style, at least in terms of alcohol content, but definitely a different hop profile than the English counterpart even now. So.
I just think I think you never see any other style other than a session IPA. They don't call it that. So like, I want to see a stout that's under that percentage, or any other
session stout. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, there's session styles. I mean, like Guinness, that would be sessionable. I think that's in
true.
the 4% region.
Okay. Yeah.
Porters are frequently in that region. You get English milds, brown ales that are frequently in that, considered sessionable.
I think it's more that I think, like Dan was saying, that IPAs have gotten, they just trended so much higher that all of a sudden, now going back to the original IPA is now a session IPA because it's lower ABV.
Except they should just be calling it a pale ale instead of an IPA at all. So.
That is so messed up with all the beer styles out there right now. It's funny because with the brew off, there's the BJCP, which is the beer judge certification program, and they make the style guidelines to judge these things. And they just did another update, and I think that they've added like another 30 styles to it, from the 5 years ago. Because exactly, it's sort of like, well, where does it end, man? I mean, every time you brew a beer, you can't make a new style.
There's a really good app out there. If you guys, it's called the BJCP Styles.
Yep.
It's an awesome app. Like it gives you. There's a lot of great just information based on every single style, but there's also just an introduction to beer if you're new to beer. There's a mead introduction. There's a cider introduction, which I'm gonna have to look into the cider now that I noticed that.
Yeah.
But that's a great app to check out. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Mike, but I just that came to mind when Dan mentioned that certification.
Yeah, no, it was just when he was talking, it occurred to me that there's different styles, but there's also different names for the same style, and so I was wondering if the official name of the black IPA is the Cascadian Dark Ale, or is it Black IPA?
I think they finally changed it to American Black Ale.
Oh, interesting.
So they're saying, fuck you both, we're doing
That's
this.
right, exactly. But that's the whole thing. It's I don't even know, because I don't think the guidelines are just beginning to roll out. They're not actually going to be used in competition until I think later this year. I was actually on the cusp of getting into becoming a judge, and I stopped because it's I don't want to have to get recertified 6 months after I get certified the first time just because the style guidelines change. That's nuts. It's insanity. Screw that. I'm waiting.
Dude,
so,
look into first of all the Cicerone certification program is quite extensive.
yes.
But if you think that's tough, have you ever seen the documentary? I think it's on Netflix. It was when I first watched it, but it's called Somm, and it's about the wine sommelier certification testing. Holy crap! That is the most intense thing I've ever seen, and it's crazy because, I think beer is more involved than wine is, but this certification for wine sommeliers, they require you to be able to identify the region of where the grapes came from.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's beyond that. It's the year the grapes were grown in that.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's absolute insanity.
If you've never seen that documentary, I highly recommend it, because it was around the time when I was talking about looking into getting into a Cicerone certification, and Ronnie was like, "I don't want you to do that," because that movie completely turned her off on it. It was like this guy threw his entire life to the side to learn all this stuff. It was so intense.
Wow.
It's a great movie. I highly recommend it, but it's crazy.
Yeah, that will leave your life in roadkill heaven at a certain point, pursuing that. it's crazy, but it is admirable at the same time. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. I mean, I'm glad that I stopped smoking because I do have senses now. I can smell and taste things again.
Yeah.
But to do it at the level that they're talking about is
I mean, even like I watch the podcast on YouTube for the Craft Beer Temple. It's a store here in Chicago, but it started with a blog by Chris. Drawing a blank. But anyways, the guy that owns the store, he's a certified Cicerone. His reviews are more in depth and more detailed and worded in ways that I could never do. I'm more. It makes me kind of not want to ever get that certification just because I like enjoying beer, and I don't need to analyze every little aspect of it, and some people do, and some people don't, and I just like trying everything that I get my hands on. So I'm not looking for the big whales. I'm not the guy that like needs to like overanalyze every little beer I drink. If it's not good, I just won't talk about it. Is basically my opinion. But if it's really good, I want to talk about it. I want to educate myself to the point where I know what I'm talking about. But I mean, that's a level that I think it's very, like you said, it's admirable, but it's just not my interest. I don't need to like figure out what beer. Like when they talk about how it's like horse blanket, like who describes a beer by a horse blanket? That's so fucking weird to me, and
Doesn't sound good at all.
I swear to God, the last review I just watched on the Beer Temple's podcast on YouTube, he described there were two beers that he got from Penrose. Which is a suburban brewery here in Chicago, the Chicagoland area, and he actually used the word manure in it. And I was
God.
I was like, whether that's true or not, like the brewery cannot be happy about the fact that you just even mentioned horse shit in there. Like, come on. I mean, I love his reviews because I think he's very educated in beer and he knows what he's talking about, but some of the words that just come out of people's mouths that are trying to think of something different just to say about a beer, when you have to say manure, I have to draw the line.
This is hilarious because there was there's another homebrew club in Lake County I just joined at the homebrew store in town called Nubs, which is the North Urban Brewer. It's either Brewing Society or Brewer Society. I forget which. A great group of guys. We were talking about was it the white stouts? And someone was like, "How would you describe the flavor of a white stout?" And immediately I was like, "Shame, shame." This beer was brewed with Pilsner malt and lube. The lube gave it a smoky flavor, but that's exactly what it's like. It's like that level of ridiculousness. It's like, what is horse blanket? You might as well be saying, that. This was brewed with Astroglide because that's I'm getting that distinct chemical characteristic from it. It's like, come on, man, you need a new hobby.
So I've gotten a couple messages from Chris, Mr. Liquid Bread. It looks like he was tying into our conversation earlier about breweries you should check out in California. Mike, you mentioned the brewery. B-U-R-E-R-Y?
That's in Orange County, though. That's pretty far south.
Yeah, it's way south.
It is, but I mean, you might be able to get some good, better selections in some stores out there, maybe.
So I'm actually going. I'm going to be in Orange County over the 4th of July because my wife's family is all there, so we're visiting them in July. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So all right. So that's a good reminder that I should probably try to get to the brewery while I'm there because. I mean, I've visited there I don't know how many times at this point in my life, and I still have never been to the brewery, even though it's less than 20 minutes away from both Kristen's mom and Kristen's dad's house. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, he was also talking about how people always use the word leather in describing beers. Like, who's chewing out leather to know what that tastes like? You know, like.
Tasty.
And is that something you want in your beer? Really? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fucking funny. All right, so let's spin this wheel. We're about 8 minutes past the hour, which I think makes up for the time that we probably missed while I was trying to get the invites out. So we've got a couple things added to the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and give it a... Oh, it just switched up on me. I'm going to give it a spin. Apply the wheel changes. All right, I think it's going to spin here. There we go. We're spinning. We spinning, and we're landed on...
Sours.
All right, sours.
Nice.
All right, I'm happy about that. I've been in the mood for sours anyway, so I.
Oh man, I've got one in the basement, and I'm not going to be here next week. Damn.
Oh, that's right. You just give it to me.
You've already had it, so.
Oh, which one do you have? Or are you talking about?
It's the still. It's the Belgian. What is it? The red. The Flanders red. So.
Oh, all their canned sours are so good. I just saw that they had another one that they were putting out. Memorial Day, they were putting pictures up on the old Facebook.
Now you gotta come over. I've got some beers you need to try out by them. That's the barrel aged ones. I guarantee you will. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Where did you get those?
Binny's a while ago. There's one called 1920, and there's another one called Das Vidanya. And both Russian Imperial stouts, except the 1920 is a Belgian yeast, and they had it aged in cognac barrels, I want to say. So, and it's supposed to be fantastic. I haven't opened one up yet because if it's the same base grain profile, then a little bit of age is going to be good for the sort of the roastiness. They used a bit of black patent malt. It tastes like. And it takes some of the edge off the longer it sits. So anyway, I babbled. So
no, that's all right. I wanted to end the show with this is for Chris, who's watching the show. This is to turn Chris on because he loves this class. Woo! All right. Immaturity at the last minute, I know. So, anyways, we're gonna end it here. We're gonna drink some sours next week. Hopefully, Chris can join us. Oh, I'm getting messages from. Oh, he said, if you like bourbon-aged beers, go out and find the recently released Bok Bok by Hebrew.
Oh, that's right. He was saying that it's bourbon with a touch of bourbon and a side of bourbon. Yeah, exactly.
I thought he was going to talk about my boob glass. Anyways.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring the boob glass for my sour next week. So we do this every Wednesday night at about 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can find these episodes up on our YouTube channel under my name, Mike Copera. We used to post them on podcastcondition.com. I haven't done that in a while, so we're a little bit behind, but feel free to watch any of our past episodes on there. I think we're probably about 10 to 15 episodes behind from posting on those. But we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and Google Plus, obviously. So feel free to like these videos on YouTube, and also join us if you want to be a part of the show. You can send a request to join our circles, and we'll send an invite to you every week. And we, like I said, switch the style up every week. So anyone who wants to make suggestions to Mike about any breweries that he should be checking out in California this fall, feel free to send some messages under this video once it posts up on YouTube. So thank you guys. Appreciate you joining us, Dan and Mike, and we will see you guys next week. Well, at least Mike. Dan, we will miss you this week, but we will see you for episode 100. So
yes,
I think maybe next week we got to figure out what we're going to do, if anything special. I don't know. Chris just said boobies.
He saw the picture.
All right, so thanks for watching, Chris. Appreciate it. We will talk to you guys next week. Sours. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.